When I started kayak fishing nearly 3 decades ago, I never realized at the time that there were a few others doing the same all across the country. As time went on, more and more people were being introduced to kayak fishing by these early pioneers. As I searched online in these early years, I was amazed at what others were catching from these little plastic craft we call kayaks. The kayak fishing story will be told in a series of podcasts as we interview these legends and people who know them. We will progress from the early days to the kayak anglers of today as we piece together how kayak fishing became such a popular activity among outdoor enthusiasts. There you are. We're back, you guys. No snow here.
It's de-thawing here, 50 degrees today.
A little ice. I put a little salt out across the street by that where the expo's at, our church there today, because it's melting pretty good. So we shouldn't have anything by Saturday. But hey, we got a good one tonight. We got a really good one. Our first gal. Anybody know? Guess who it is? Trey, you know who it is?
I don't. It's a surprise to me. I think we should just leave it a surprise. But Marty, you got some big.
Been hiding under a rock or what?
I guess I've been making. I hear it's. I hear it's a lady from the. Is it D. Kaminski?
D. Kaminski. Yep, D. Kaminski. She's a legend. We're gonna have her on here in just a minute. I got to go through a couple things here first. First of all, our sponsors. Last week, our sponsors were hidden, not because we don't like you guys, but because I didn't do a very good job of planning it out. And I'm figuring this out week by week. So we got KBF, Tourney X, Little Miami Outfitters. Those are our sponsors for this, telling this kayak fishing story. This is episode 3. With we're going to have lots of episodes ahead. Got Bassmaster in Florida coming up this weekend. They had 195 entries today, as of today. Maybe they'll hit 200. I don't know. Steve Billington has come out with a new product. And so you guys got to check out Steve Billington, Penguin Outdoors. He's got a little identifier thing for the boards, man. I'm looking forward to that. So that's going to be really cool. But check out his page because that's really neat. Nebraska Bass Team was in the top 10 down in Florida, and they're going to be at our expo Saturday. They'll be running the casting contest. So that'll be a lot of fun. In the meantime, though,
I got a Missouri shout out. So if you guys are looking for a showdown to watch, February 8th, Moyak, we're going to be having our last Winter Series tournament, and it is neck to neck. Chad Davison and Micah Funderburg are really going to battle it out for that number 1 spot. So it should be good. Weather's going really good. So watch that Tourney X. I mean, these guys are hammer sticks in the first place. So getting down on Taneycomo is going to be cool. It's going to be fun to watch. So.
That's awesome. Okay, here we go. I've got to find D in here somewhere. There she is.
There she is.
Kaminski. Yay. Oh, I should have. You know what? I should have had like. There it is. All right. There we go. So anyway, Dee, we're glad to have you here. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and if you guys look at that picture there, you don't want to mess with this guy. Look at that fish he's holding. What is that? What is that?
It's a kingfish.
A kingfish. And it has
that's a heavy, scary fish.
Wow.
Yeah. Marty's like a radio DJ right now. He's got all the ding, 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 boom, boom, booms.
Oh, that was
right.
Marty. My phone rings nonstop. So, but anyway, that's a kingfish. And then what's the one on the right there?
It's a bull redfish.
Bull redfish.
Yeah, that's not even a big one, but it's a cute one.
that is just amazing.
Now, is that what some people call a drum down there? Is that the same thing?
Yeah, it's a red drum.
Okay.
We call it a bull redfish because of the size. It's a breeder fish. It's the kind that you can't take out of the water for taking home. I mean, you could take pictures, but you have to let it go, size limit and all. So, yeah, I liked that one a lot because the colors seemed to go really well when I was wearing that day.
Yeah. I do apologize. I got to apologize to Stephen Kidd, who's on. He's got a podcast about 30 minutes. we usually go on Thursday nights, D, but due to my miscalculations, we're on Wednesday. Also, I don't know why we did Wednesday, but we did, and a lot of it is because of this expo I got too. So, but we wanted to make sure we got it in. I didn't want to interfere with anybody, but Stephen, I'm sorry, and I promise you I will be watching yours in full after we get it done. Oh, yeah, Steve Millington didn't know it was Wednesday, but anyway, so D, here we go. We got lots to talk about, and of course, I've heard you on other podcasts and so forth. So, and I've never met you in person. I don't think we met, have we, in person? But we've probably known each other. How many years you think?
Pretty close to 20 years.
Okay, that sounds about right. Yeah.
Yeah, like from the get-go ish. When you asked me to come on, I went, well, who's going to interview you? You're an OG too. So
Now, I want to tell people stories and have them tell their stories. But this venture has been on my mind for several years, and we got to tell the story so that people know where it came from. I mean, neither one of us are Inuits, but we were close.
Yeah.
And I want to say when Marty did his, it was like something like you had to chisel it in some type of like bark. So I'm sure it's out there somewhere, but it's just about deciphering that.
Yeah. So yeah. So tell us, you started out in Chicago, I believe. Can you tell us about that part of your life?
Oh, so I grew up in Chicago. My parents bought a summer / then we winterized a cabin up in Canada on a lake. Big lake, very nice, lots of tributaries and whatnot. So we summered there for the 3 months when you're out of school, and then the 2 weeks when you're out for winter for the holidays. So I learned to fish because, I mean, I really didn't have a choice. My mom needed to get away from my dad. And so she always brought me with her. So she went fishing to get away from him. But who's to watch me? So I went along, and then I grew up watching her fish, which was completely opposite because isn't your dad supposed to teach you how to fish?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm assuming my dad showed her. I don't know. But they came from Poland. So there's a different aura over there. Yeah, so it's like she taught me so many things that they were both in the Army. They both came here after the war. I learned so much after they passed. They didn't talk much when they were, when I was growing up, but I learned a lot. But yeah, my mom was very big mushroom hunter. I don't know if you've seen, I've been posting a lot of stuff, which is really great because when I'm looking for kayak places to launch or I'm going up trails or whatever, I'm like, oh, there's a mushroom. There's a mushroom. Oh, I could here, I could do that there. Really great. So foraging has been fun. But back to what you're saying. So I learned to fish in Canada for all freshwater fish, and there was always that elusive muskie my dad was after. But my start came when I started fishing alone, when you're old enough.
Yeah.
And I used to fish out of a canoe, which kind of is the reason why I kind of migrated to the Native Ultimate, because it's a canoe kayak hybrid. There was a guy that owned a fishing lodge who actually made his own fiberglass kayaks.
Really?
That was my first introduction into a kayak. And the guy actually had a pole that came up, and you put a pin with the paddle across, and it would just do this. And you would go wherever you want to go, and you never had to put that paddle down if you didn't want to. If you did, you picked it up, and then you put it down in front of you.
So
anyway, through all that, I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
Through all that practice, you learned what worked and what didn't work with entries, with distances, with how to launch and all of that. And So that was my basis for learning how to fish.
What age was that?
I think I stopped around 17, 16, 17, because of school. You just didn't have time to go up and work. You know, you get to that age that you just other interests, you know.
Mhm. You have
So in an interview that you did, you had someone had one thing I want to talk about. I want you to paint us a picture of kind of what that cottage was like. I know that cottage is something you've said in a lot of interviews, and I know that cottage probably holds a special place in your heart as being something that's really memorable from your from growing up. But also, you mentioned in one interview why most girls were playing with Barbies. You were out fishing.
Oh
I was
yeah.
wondering, was that a struggle for you growing up? Did you find any diversity when it went to school and other girls, or anything like that? Like, what did your friend crowd? How did that look like?
So I had two older brothers, so it was natural for me to do everything that boys did.
Nice.
I always was active in sports. I was, swimming, diving, track, cross country, the whole thing.
Mhm.
And I went to an all girls high school for the first 2 years, and then I went to a co ed school junior and senior year. And that's when the fight started when our coaches wanted the women to compete with the men, the girls against the boys, or with the boys.
Mm.
And the challenge was that the coaches were always like, nah, the girls can't keep up. And we kicked ass every time.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What about that cottage? Tell me about that cottage.
So, I mean, what can you say? Thin walls, big picturesque windows looking over trees down to a lake. I think we had 132 stairs to get down from the cottage to the lake.
Wow.
Yeah, we had a dock and we had, I think it was a 12-foot boat for, I think it was like a 70 horsepower. And then we had our fishing boat, which was an aluminum with a 9.5. I learned to water scan that 9.5 horsepower.
And if I read right, you were able to take your kids there too. Is that right? Like,
No, no. When my parents passed, we all were able to pick something from the trust, and my brother picked the cottage. And I said, I'll do this. And I ended up moving to Florida.
okay.
What did you enjoy most when you were younger fishing? What did you enjoy the most, Dee?
Oh my gosh, the nights of fishing.
Hmm.
Peaceful. You can hear the frogs, you can hear the bass pop, you just see everything without any light, and it's just gorgeous and very very calming to the soul.
Yeah.
And then when it's quiet, and then all of a sudden you hook up and you're just like screaming, and the whole lake heard you. It's awesome.
Wow. So you moved to Florida. Did kayak fishing start after you moved to Florida?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So tell us about that.
So the move to Florida was because I spent a couple years with my boyfriend, and we did a lot of surf fishing in Melbourne Beach. And I totally fell in love with the area. And then after both my sons were out of the house, they were in the military. I said, time to move, because I was tired of leaves and snow.
Yeah, that's what we got up here.
Oh, and cold, of course.
Yeah.
So since I loved it down there, I decided to move on down, and I bought a house on Melbourne Beach. So I was beachside. I was 200, I don't know, 200 yards, 300 yards this way to the beach, to the ocean, and the same to the Indian River Lagoon.
Gee,
I was on the barrier island. Yeah.
man.
I miss it.
Wow.
I miss it big
So
time.
tell us how did you get into that first kayak? How was that?
So I had a job lined up that didn't pan through, and I already bought the house. And
Man.
while I was looking for a job, I was like, I want to see what's on the riverside, but you can't get there because it's all like mangroves and houses and whatnot. I'm like, well, I could do kayaks. And then I started researching all these kayaks, and being, all of 110, 20 pounds, I didn't want to get anything, huge. And the Native Ultimates were my go-to kayaks, the one that's down there. No, that's the Slayer. Sorry, that's the Slayer Papa.
What year was that? What year was that when you?
I bought them in early 2007. Okay. I bought two. Because everybody said you don't want a tandem. You know why?
I know why.
Trey, do you know why you don't want a tandem kayak?
The ones you sit in?
Yeah, any tandem kayak.
Okay.
I mean, because you're going to get, I'm thinking, listen, I'll tell you my personal thing. So I'm at what I talked about, Taneycomo, and this guy got an Airbnb. And underneath the Airbnb, he's like, and I thought I was like, I'm a kayak bass fisherman, yada, yada, yada. I hadn't even bought my kayak yet, but I was already there, right? So he's like, there's a kayak underneath there, bro. So I go outside. It's April, May. I open up this little hatch and I look up underneath this house, and there's a kayak back up in there. And I'm like, oh my God. I have a fear of grabbing anything that has a lip on it if I can't see it. And I promise you, I did not fish. I was not going to put my legs up inside that hole where I couldn't see what was up in there, because I knew that there were spiders in there.
Yeah. And they're probably this big.
So I got to tell you, though, like, I'd take a couple out.
Is that why, though? Spiders?
No.
Oh, man. Okay.
So I would have a couple show up for a guiding trip, and the guy would go, do you have a tandem? And I go, do you two want to be together at the end of the day? So I would tell him,
a tandem of two people?
A tandem, yeah. A tandem.
Two. What'd you think it was?
I have no idea.
That's all right. But anyway, go ahead, D. I get it. I totally get this.
Two-person kayak. So
yeah, that's what I'm here.
I want to go this way. He can go that way. We're not going to argue. Our lines aren't going to get crossed. Right. Everybody's going to be happy. So we got two kayaks.
Oh, it's like the kayak Steve Billington and Noah Witten have. They have a tandem kayak that they use when they go. Okay, I know what it is now.
Yeah. They cause divorces and breakups.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you get into a kayak. So what year did you actually start kayak fishing?
Oh, well, when I was a kid. Yeah.
So like a canoe or a kayak? That's what I want to find out.
Well, we had a canoe at our house or at the cabin, and then the guy at the lodge made his own canoes out of fiberglass. Okay, or kayaks out of fiberglass.
Right. Okay. Not about what year do you think that was? Before 2000?
You're gonna age me.
I'm not trying to age you too much, D.
70 something.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not saying anything from there. Okay, so because I had a guy when we had our first tournament, I think it was like 2004. He made a wooden kayak.
Yeah.
And brought it, and it was really cool looking. So you started way before anybody.
I don't know. I'm sure there. How would this guy get an idea how to make a kayak if somebody else didn't have one already? You think
they're probably around. I mean, it was probably made of sealskin, was it, or was it wood?
No, it was fiberglass. So, so the person who made it used to be he flew airplanes in the war. Oh. So I'm assuming he knew a lot about stuff like that. I don't know.
So you started kayak fishing as a kid, basically, right?
Yeah.
And then, but your official kayak that you found was about 2007?
Yes.
Okay. And that was a native?
That was native. And I've never owned anything since except for this last year. I bought a Bonafide.
And this was when you bought it, this was for the purpose of going to try to find a job. Is that what you said? You wanted something?
No, this was my fill-in time while I'm looking for a job. What else am I going to do all day? Mm-hmm. I can't. I mean, you can stay on the computer for only so long looking for a job or interviewing. So the days off, I would go fishing. So I would get on Google or whatever, and I would, search out places to launch. And one of my most favorite places, because it was so close, was Sebastian Inlet.
Huh.
So the ocean has an inlet opening, and back then there was fruitful grass and fish everywhere, and you think you've found every fish in the world to catch. Because I mean, Florida is so diverse with fish. It's not like a bass, a crappie, a smallmouth, muskie, and you can count them like this. You're counting, 30, 40 different types of fish you can catch.
And then, like I went to Florida a couple of years ago. No, was it last year? I rented a kayak and I go out in this little bay or whatever down. I don't know where I was in Florida, but I caught a puffer fish.
Yay!
And it was like blowing up in my kayak, and I thought it was going to explode. And then it went,
Marty's out there with an open faced bait cat with a bass rod and a Nico.
I did throw one.
Yeah.
So anyway, so you started fishing. Did you your skills, obviously fishing up in Canada and so forth, helped you, I'm sure, but how did you learn to fish for those fish, or did you just experiment when you were there in Florida?
Well, again, Google is your friend. You looked everything up you possibly could, but I did start out as a bait fisherman. So shrimp catches everything. A shrimp will catch you a pogie, whatever other little bait fish, and then you keep those fish and use them on your hooks. And I learned how to hook them through the nose, the proper ways by looking on the internet. And I mean, there's articles out there everywhere. Yeah. And then from there was trial and error based on a lot of things. But my number one friend was I logged everything I caught. Anything worthwhile, I should say.
Yeah.
And so I started learning trends. So doing it so many times, so many days in the same little area, basically, you can kind of figure things out. And then you take that knowledge and you start going another mile out, or another territory area, or different structured area, or whatever. And so then all of a sudden you're logging, but it's also inbred into you. You're like, oh, I remember this, I remember that. There's so many fish catches that you don't forget.
Mm-hmm. And did you take a lot of photos of your fish then, too?
Oh, yeah. I took photos of everything.
Yeah. Cool. Now, I got to ask you, so most of the people that we have on this show, they were either a guide or are still a guide. That's what's amazing to me, is that you are a fishing guide, and you have been for a long time. We're going to get into that here. So who or what or how did you encourage you to become a guide, and who did you see out there that was a guide already? That's what I'd like to find
out. So I lived in an HOA community, and people saw. Sometimes I would bring fish home, and that's where I would clean them we had a cleaning station and stuff. Like, where'd you catch that? Oh, will you take me out? And I'm like, yeah, I have an extra kayak. Just meet me here, and that kind of a thing.
That's awesome.
I started taking people out, and it was at no charge. It was like, yeah, I'll show you what's going on.
Yeah.
I found out that was just it was wearing on me. And I said, Brian, my boyfriend, I go, hey, do you think there's a business in this? Because I never heard of a kayak fishing guide. So I got on the computer and I started looking it up, and there were 2 kayak guides in my area.
Huh.
I found Jim Salmon's.
Yeah. That's who I found.
Yeah. I think he was like, those are like the 3 or maybe 4. Brian Nelly, I think, already was.
Really?
He's in Palm Bay or West Palm.
Yeah.
Area. That's where I actually caught that kingfish with Brian Nelly. maybe a little later after I did. I don't know, but I know definitely Jim Salmons.
Okay.
And then the two was a guy who's no longer, I mean, he was very young. I think he was like 18 or 19. And it was part-time. And I saw him on the water all the time afterwards, but I'll tell you about him in a little bit. And then Alex Gorichki, you may want to write his name down. Alex is from Local Line Charters, and I actually send all my clients over to him now. He was born and raised there in that area, and he's a boat as well as a kayak fishing guide.
Okay.
And man, was I jealous of that guy because he had clients out the wazoo, and I'd pass him every so often on the water with him and his clients, and I'm like, this is pretty cool. But we never really chit-chatted or anything, never became friends because he was in my area and I didn't want to let the cat out of the bag all the time, you know?
Yeah, I
get
get
on to share locations and stuff. But so those are the 3-4 main people.
I see. So did you hear of Dennis Spike?
Oh, Dennis, yeah, definitely Dennis.
And then
Dennis and Jim Sam. That's right.
The other one that I found basically 3, and that was Dennis Spike, Jim Salmons, and then Dean Thomas.
Yeah, and Dean. Yeah. But I had more communication probably with Dennis Spike. He had a podcast back then.
Yeah.
And he asked me on there a couple times.
Sure. And then so you guided in Florida for how many years do you think you guided then?
So I'm going to say 2008 till about 2 years ago.
Okay. That's quite a while. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we were talking earlier before we came on. You remember the Yak Angler site?
Oh yeah.
That was like the pinnacle of fishing, wasn't it, back then?
Yeah, yeah.
You know, and they had the boondoggle. Did you ever go to a boondoggle?
Oh, we were one of the first ones to start the boondoggle. Yeah.
Oh wow! So tell us about that. Tell us about the boondoggle.
Oh my gosh. So party. So I think the first one was there in Florida at the No Motor Zone area off of NASA Causeway, and that's really a place that military people are supposed to camp out, but they let us go for some reason. I don't know. I didn't actually get the properties or anything. I just remember inviting people and talking about it and whatnot, and then I was thrilled that it was there because I got to go. And we had manufacturers going there. So like Native was there, you know, Woody, Callaway was there. And I mean, there were different areas of different people doing different things. And we had schedules, like we were going to teach this seminar here, and then we'll go fishing here, and then groups got together. I mean, it was just all over the place and a big fun time.
Man, that's pretty. There were several guys that built it up quite a bit on the internet, I remember, and I was like, man, I want to go to that so bad.
It was fun. Oh my gosh. And I mean, I lived there. I only lived a half an hour away from there, but I wanted to stay overnight camping. You know, that was that much fun.
Was it like the Woodstock of kayak?
Yeah, that's a really good explanation. Yeah, good description.
That's cool. You got any questions, Trey? I know you're chomping.
I think something that you had said. I had tried to read a lot on some interviews that you had done before, D, just so I can get just kind of an idea of who I was talking to. Because like I said, I am kind of new at this. But one thing I heard you say in an interview when you were talking about boats, and I know we just talked about a boat, and I want to get back to the quote, how you quoted it, because it was pretty cool. But you had said something about now I can't find it. So
Trey, you've never been for a loss of words like this before.
Well, I wanted to get her words in it. I didn't want to say it myself, but it was an interview where you said that you get to inhale beauty that you don't normally see when running from location in a boat. Do you feel that's one of like the main reasons why you fell in love with kayak fishing? Because you are down there and there is a lot of boats, right? But I think there was something very poetic in the way that you said that and just how you kind of capture that beauty while you're out there.
So when you're in a boat, you're running and gunning to a spot. You just pull the handle and off you go, but you don't get to stop and see everything. So if you're in a kayak and you're going from one spot to another, you just take all of that beauty in. I mean, you wouldn't see an eagle sitting there, or you know, a special bird like a spoonbill, or you just miss everything. You miss you miss fish everywhere. You know, you're in a boat and you're just zipping. All of a sudden you're looking and all those fish are taking off over there. In a kayak, they'll just only go a couple feet in front of you and you can stay with them. You know, you miss the grass. You know, you're just, what about what's under you? You know, it's just gorgeous. And even the fogs, you know, you're just looking at the little bit of wind will go through the fog. In a kayak, you see it all, the rays of the sun. It's beautiful, just beautiful.
So one question that I love to ask, and so being here in Missouri, and you know, Florida is a pretty easy destination for us here in Missouri, where we were talking to some California guys, and so let's say one of us haven't fished a ton. We just want to go to Florida. Maybe we don't have the money to get a guide, and we just want to go to the beach, or we want to find somewhere and just grab our rod and reel and go down there and just catch a fish. What would be my best option to do that, and how would that look for me? Just grabbing my rod and reel. What is one thing or a couple things I would need to go get, and where would you go?
That is a very hard question. I would do, I don't know. That's really hard to answer. A generic 7-foot rod with, I'm just going to go with the spinning reel right now, or a baitcaster that's 10-pound test braid. You always want to have a nice leader, a shock leader, or a it can be mono. I've always done fluorocarbon. And you follow the same rules you do with bass fishing, you know, don't make shadows. If you have trees behind you, stay in the shadows so you can cast out.
Like what type of area in Florida am I looking for? So I'm leaving my condominium, I'm leaving my Airbnb. I know there's beaches there. I know there's stuff there. Like what?
And the beach is a completely different animal. So if you do the beach, you could throw some plugs, top water plugs, because the surf is always a really hard. It's really hard to retrieve a sunken lure, or a spoon is really good, you know, because it gives you a lot of flutter. So it could be gold or silver, but just a spoon, not, you know, like a, what do you call it? Like a MEPS or something, you know? Okay. But it'd be silver or gold, but that would be beach fishing. But any place that you can get into the water and walk along the shorelines and cast outward. You know, you're going to do some wade fishing, because there's so many mangroves and everything. It's kind of hard, but you're always looking for structure. You're looking for a drop off. You're looking for a pothole. You're looking for a transition, for grass to sand, tree to grass to sand. I like the rules of 3. If you find 3 different transition things, that's probably where you're going to find your fish. That would be like an eddy with a tree and then grass and sand, you know, something like that. So that's your best bet.
Nice.
But every place is different.
Yeah.
You know, one place can look like you're fishing on the moon, and another place you're in grass and potholes. Another place you've got tidal flow issues. Another place you don't have any tides.
Have you ever got stung by a jellyfish?
No, but my mom has.
Okay.
Not
What's
fun.
the weirdest thing that's happened to you while you've been out in like the flats or like out in Florida? Like we're talking like sharks, manta rays. What's the
Yeah.
weirdest thing where you were like, oh my gosh?
That would be the hammerhead shark.
Oh man.
That was, yeah, that was like the second time out I was ever in the ocean out fishing out of West Palm Beach. And we were trolling with goggle eyes and stuff. And I got my line way back there and I'm going, oh, this thing is going all the way around me, you know, and it was bigger than the kayak, which freaks you out.
Man.
Oh,
And I'm
man.
like, I don't know what you do. Do you pull in your bait? Do you leave it? Is it going to hit you?
Yeah.
That thing was huge.
So is that the most excitement you've had in a kayak, or is there other
My scariest moment.
scariest moment? Okay.
Yeah.
So what was your favorite catch of all time? And I'm going to go through these a little bit here while we do that.
Oh, I don't know. I love them all.
Here. That first we got to look at that. Look at that.
Yeah. So that was in the no motor zone. So if you keep looking at that rainbow, that's where the boondoggle was.
Oh.
On the other side.
What kind of paddle's that, D?
Oh, that's an Aquabound paddle.
Yeah, those
So
were popular back then.
Yeah, sister company to Bending Branches. That's like 26-ounce paddle. My favorite paddle in the world.
Yeah.
Man.
Isn't that something? Bending Branches reached out to me as well many years ago.
Yeah.
And just kept sending me paddles, and now I still with them, but I haven't heard much from them lately. But
they have transitions, you know. So they'll go.
Yeah.
You know, but all the companies are like that lately.
Yeah, there's
back then they're doing the hurry up and get popular, and now it's unpopular, and
yeah,
well,
it's different. I faced that many times with rebuilding relationships with companies. You know, for instance, like Emotion. Tom Strauss sold Emotion to Lifetime. Bending Branches had a lot of turnover. But even Crocagator was just bought by Jason Husky there, Trey. And then Yak Gear has a new ownership. I've had to rebuild all those relationships. And even with Bass Pros, I have somebody new almost every year because people keep moving up the ladder and go, you know. But,
right.
But anyway, here's another one. So what do we got there?
Oh, that's a Bugs fishing lure. That's a guy that hand ties these. They're like flies, but they're made for actually bass fishing. And I got a bunch of them, and I tried them for saltwater fish, and I caught that nice sea trout with that thing.
That's a big trout.
That's a big trout. That was not my biggest, but that's over 30 inches.
Jeez.
Now, do you keep that, or do you release that?
It's a breeder again. You don't want to keep that thing. Yeah.
So when you say breeders,
yeah, above slot is usually a breeder. Okay. And back when I first started out fishing, you were just excited to get fish and you ate them, and you could because the water was still clean and it was just great. But after a while, you're just like, you know what, this is not good for the environment. I want to catch this fish later. They are making babies, and I mean, you started doing everything that you should to keep those fish as your pets. I do it with bass. You always wet your hands before you touch them so you don't get the slime coating to come off of them, because that's their protective barrier to their skin. Mm-hmm. And then you just release them, make sure that they're healthy, make sure they got water going through their lungs, and off they go.
So that day, did you catch a lot of trout that day, or was it just that trophy?
That's you know what? I don't remember.
Okay, I just thought I'd ask.
But for that size, normally they don't congregate in schools, so that would have been like a loner, and sitting on the outside of a school of the little ones that they like to eat. So
did you get towed on that one?
No, those don't. They're too thin and long to tow you. Really,
huh?
I found when they got big and old like that they were just like, oh, I got a hook. Okay, I'll pick me up. Let me go.
Wow. Okay, here's one.
Oh, now that one told me.
That I bet that's is that like a mangrove area there?
Yeah. So that again, I'm looking at the boondoggle site at that point.
Huh.
So there was a big drop off over there, and there were all these redfish. That's what that is, a bull redfish. And they were swimming along this drop off, just back, stopping, going forth. And I couldn't get them to eat worth anything. And I'm like jigging, doing everything. And I think what I ended up doing was I like dropped the lure and I just left it. And like, you go look at your phone and then all of a sudden you see your line going.
Wow. So were you waiting there or were you in a kayak?
No, I was in a kayak. I couldn't pick it up. It's too heavy for a photo. So
wow.
I put him on the fish grips and I towed him all the way back in because he pulled me out, or she pulled me out. Oh God, probably a quarter mile.
Gee.
And then I towed her all the way back in, which is good because she got revived and everything from being tired and trying to pull her in. And then I have her tied off on the kayak with the grip. She's in the water. And then I just situate the camera and I put the timer on it. And you're seeing, I'm like this. You see my shoulders are shut?
Yeah,
I can't lift her.
Wow.
And I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to have to settle for this shot.
Wow.
That's cool.
Okay. So
that one's, I think that one was like 48 inches.
That one's 48 inches.
Yeah, I don't weigh them because that one's, I don't know, 35 maybe.
Yeah. That is a really good picture there.
That's a redfish, right?
Yeah, the same fish.
You took that photo yourself, just turning your phone around?
Yep, just with, whatever camera arm I had on there.
Were you on the cover of Kayak Angler magazine for that one?
That was on the Natives catalog.
Oh, wow.
It might have been in Kayak Angler. I wrote for them all the time, and I submitted photos, so it may have been in there.
Nice.
That's cool. But you can see the drip of the water. If you look at all these photos, there's always water dripping because that's exactly it. Your hero shot is going to be this fast. Yeah. And you see the water just coming out because you want to get them right back in the water to revive them.
Right. Yeah, we see that. Yeah, we do that a lot here too.
Speaking of bass, dun dun dun, that's the one.
I think she's ready for the Bassmaster.
Tell us about this story, Dee.
Oh my gosh! So, Florida has hybrid bass. They're not the same as northern bass, so they get bigger. Mm-hmm. But let's see what was going on. I was fishing along that shoreline, and it was I caught it under that boat.
Really?
And I was casting again a saltwater rod because I don't own any bass rods, so it was a fast action tip, and it was a medium heavy rod, so it had bulk on the bottom but not on the top. But I threw a purple, gosh, I think it was a Z-Man. I'm not sure. Might have been, I don't know. But it was this, I mean, it was big, long, and chunky. And I threw it down, and as it's going down, you know how the tail does a, and whammo. And man, that was a great fight. I thought I was going to lose it because the motor in that boat was down.
Huh. Now, but, how much did you say that weighed? You said
that was 10 plus, probably.
Is that your biggest largemouth?
No.
Really?
Yeah, my biggest one I caught. This was caught with people, so they were able to take my photo. You could see I had my camera mount even behind me over there. It's a real Blaza at the time, but my biggest one I was on my own, so that was the hardest thing to take a photo of. And I thought nobody's ever going to believe I caught this fish. And I don't ever weigh them. I do girth and length scales. So I did all of that, but it came out based on that was like 11 pounds, 11 and 3/4 pounds, but who knows if that was true. But it was almost 16 inches
Oh, in the girth.
length.
Length was, that was
Wait,
bigger than 16 inches.
26 inches. I'm sorry, 26 inches.
That's a Chad Davison 16-incher right there, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. So have you ever fished in a kayak fishing tournament?
Oh, many.
Really? Like,
Yeah, but not any of the series.
Yeah.
Like, so when they first started out back in the day, they were more charity tournaments and
yeah.
get together kind of tournaments but I never did any real series tournament. So my very, very first tournament was actually, that's how I found out about Alex Gorichki, and I met him. I kicked his ass well, it was the three fish, it was snook, trout, red,
Huh.
or biggest of any of them. And I was the only one that caught a snook, and the biggest one, which was 28 inches. So it was a beautiful fish.
So you had to catch one of each?
If you had to catch one of each in order, so it's called a slam. So they have different categories. One of each is the slam. One of each, and big of those is the biggest fish.
So did you have 3 different setups for each one of the fish, or did you pretty much use the same thing for all of them?
They were all totally different. So my goal for the snook was, before the sun came up, I went through this canal and I knew where they were hiding. And I threw the biggest shrimp that looked like a lobster. And I just chucked it under the mangrove, just let it sit. And I caught that thing and I pulled it out. So I had my first fish within 15 minutes of the tournament even starting.
Wow.
Nice.
And then I knew where my redfish were, so I went there, but then everybody's already in those areas. But I caught my redfish, and then I caught my trout. And I caught the biggest trout, but I already won the snook trophy, and they asked me if I would give up my trout trophy to the next person. I said, sure.
Oh, that's nice.
So I would have won 2 prizes. I was fine with just the one.
Wow. Okay. I'm going to get into a subject here. I'm going to turn the page a little bit here on you.
Yay.
I'm going to say this mostly because I have the experience as a guide and I saw this firsthand. I'm just going to say right now that women are better anglers than men. True or not true?
That's what I hear. I don't know.
I think they are.
I think patience is key.
Yeah.
A tenderness, like you need to know when that rod is doing something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We pay attention more. I don't know.
I like that, more of kind of like an intimate experience with the fishing. Like there's more feelings involved with.
Yeah.
Grounded.
I would take a couple out, and like I've said this before too, that there'd be a couple, and the gal would say, "Okay, what do we need to do here?" And I'd tell the guy, say, "Hey, here's some lures you can use, out there, and I got my own stuff. I'll be all right." Okay. He says, "Hey, you just help my wife catch a fish." I'm like, "Okay." So she starts catching 4 and 5 pounders over where we're at, and he's over there not getting a bite, and she's holding him up, this is typical each time. They'll, hold up the fish, and the guy's over there, he just shakes his head. Finally, they'll come back and they'll go, "Okay, what do you got?" But the reason why I thought was because number one is they're very patient, and they're sponge learner. They want to learn because obviously the husband hadn't spent a lot of time with her and helping her to fish, and they don't have an ego. They didn't, the guys, we have egos. We know how to do it our way.
But a little comment on that. I think the ego is because it's a male guide.
Yeah.
With a male client.
True.
My clientele, ironically, 85% were male.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah,
that's a good comment.
yeah. So when it's a one-on-one or then everything's great. But if I have two guys with me, then there is a little bit more of a thing going on between them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I think it's an ego guy thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
I was interested in hearing Marty has shared his experience with taking a couple out fishing, and I think you kind of answered it. Like, so when you are taking a guy and a girl, husband and wife, boyfriend and girlfriend, do you find that one listens to you better though when it's them two? Do you feel like you have do you have more of a relationship better with the guy or the girl, or how is their relationship towards you? Or is
it all depends on the reason why they're out. So if I had a couple, probably my worst couple ever, husband and wife, and all they did was bicker. And it was terrible. And neither one wanted to listen to me. So I just kind of let them go. And I said, all right, let's try this area and blah, 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 blah. And she did catch more fish than he did. And then he got really upset and he started going off on his own. And then she's like, well, you told me in, I'm not feeling so good. And he's like, no, you're on your own. And I ended up towing her in.
So sometimes you're like a marriage counselor and a guy.
You can be. Yeah, definitely.
So of that, Steve Billiton asked, of that 85% of the guys, how many listened well to you?
85%.
Oh, okay. I see. Okay. Wow. And
all the guys listened to me. I did not have anybody that did not. I even went fishing with people who knew how to fish that were guys, and they would still listen.
John Halem's on here. He said, I guess he knows you pretty well. He's making some comments. He said he has been fishing with you a lot and that you're unbelievable. You're a great fisherman. He also was talking about the sweet Asian couple.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they were fantastic. Again, the Asian couple was fantastic. I actually asked John to take me to his area. He fishes out of a place called Tenorocks, which is like Plant City area, and it's old phosphate mines that they filled in. And so I took them because I thought that was going to be the best chance to ever find fish, because John's fantastic in showing me around his area. And we're always catching fish. And wouldn't you know it, they didn't catch any fish. I think they caught one. But yeah, they were a sweet couple, and I'm still friends with them. So they're really great people.
Huh. So what I was going to say too is, you've heard of Christine Fisher, obviously.
Oh, absolutely.
And when she first got into it, we met at Wanahoo there, and where I was fishing, but she would say, "Hey, Marty, can I just go out fishing with you? Because I was a finesse. Of course, I like to finesse fish. I just want to learn everything I can about finesse fishing." She would be right next to me in her kayak, just like an eagle, watching like a sponge, and just learning it, sort of finesse worm. And that's how she is with everybody. And I think that's how gals are. They watch and they learn it.
Yep.
And then they take it and do that, and then they're very successful at fishing.
Yeah.
That's what I've seen.
Yeah.
Well, it's like Dee said, when she was taking notes, she would catch a fish, she would document that fish.
Yep.
I would never thought of that. I don't do that. I mean,
yeah, you write down the weather, the temperature of the water, where you were at. I mean, you go all out, Yep. What did you use for your lure? I even wrote down like what was the exact technique I was using. Mm-hmm. But I'm gonna tell you, I'm not a pro. I'm still learning. Mm-hmm. I'm always watching. I fish with John Hallam all the time when I was down there, and I try every year to fish with him when I go to ICAST. But yeah, he teaches me all kinds of stuff, new things here and there. And then we learn off of each other too. So
yeah, lifelong learner. Yep.
Yeah. Always learning something.
And I don't mean anything bad about men or women. And I just think that just women have more patience when they fish. And that's what I learned when I guided, and we had a gal here in Nebraska, and we ran, like you said, back in the early days, we ran tournaments as fundraisers. Like ours was for the Heroes in the Water. And we never gave out money to the winners. We gave like prizes like a kayak or whatever.
Yeah, we ran, John Hollum and I actually ran a bunch of those for, I don't know, 5-6 years for a while. Like,
and then we had Carrie Brown here. Carrie Brown won 4 series in a row. I mean, in a row. I mean, think of all the series in the country that are happening. And Carrie, of course, it was multi-species too, which is even more difficult, I think. And she beat all these guys that are hammers around here back then. Now, the other thing is Steve Billington says he bought a logbook. Same here. I keep track of everything. I don't know if you know about that challenge I do, Dee. I try to catch the year in fish or beer and bass.
Oh, yeah.
And so I document every single fish, every single one. And I have little logs that I keep that I have on the computer here. And those are on by the way, if there's anybody listening, I have a Kayak Jack's Fishing Intel. You can see a lot of that stuff there.
Cool.
I get reports there and stuff wherever I go on that. So he has a logbook. I keep a log every day, weather, everything, same thing. And I think that helps you. And I obviously with you, it's helped. And that's how you've learned to become the angler that you are. Do you have any interest in like tournaments in the future at all?
I have my eyes open on a couple of them. I like Native Watercraft sponsors a few of them now. They're getting a little further into that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know anything about bass fishing tournaments at all. Give me a saltwater tournament any day and I'm good to go. But when it comes to fishing the rivers and stuff up here, I mean, I'm a very minimalistic fishing person. I mean, I had no electronics on my boat until this past year when I got a Bixby motor from the ICAST show in July. That's my first electric thing on my kayak. So
wow.
Yeah, never used anything. It was always seek by using your lure.
And that's something how guys like Dennis Spike, Jim Salmons, mm-hmm. they have paddled their entire lives.
Yep.
And I paddled for I'll be honest, I paddled 18 years before I went to pedals, and I've had a motor. I've been doing this 28 years, and I've only had a motor for 2.
Yeah.
That I've used, but I don't.
You talk about the new age. I got an app on my phone that steers my boat. So
wow,
that's that.
Yeah.
Wow. So yeah, it's amazing. I think a lot of it depends on what you're doing with your kayak and where you're at.
Right. In saltwater, as I'm guiding, I'm not in deeper water than 3-4 feet, maybe 5. You don't need anything to find a fish. You just look down. You stand up and you look down. You're like, oh, there's a fish. All right, there you go. Huh. Or that looks good. That structure,
John Hallam said he watched you win a bass tournament.
I did.
A bass.
So that I didn't win I won biggest bass.
Oh.
For that tournament. So wow. that was an interesting one. That was a memorial tournament. So the bass that you're looking at right there, Rod Salzer, who taught me so much about bass fishing, passed away. He took that photo. That's actually right by his old house where we caught that. Or I caught that. And that's when I won the biggest bass. It's okay. I think it was, 23 inches or something. I don't know. But, yeah, I was fishing that with John Hollum. And he was all upset because I'm catching fish. And he's like, I can't find them.
Wow.
And he showed me where we should be fishing. So it was fun.
Huh.
Good stuff. Good times.
Yeah.
Have you ever swam with the dolphins?
No. Do I want to? No.
Okay.
When I was down there,
I think that's just a Missouri thing. Like I mean, there's carp at this dock down in Palm de Terre, and I tell my friends, it's like I feel like I could jump in there with the carp, and it's kind of like our version of swimming with the dolphins.
Yeah.
But I want to swim with a dolphin.
Awesome.
You know, when I went down to Florida last year, or whatever, I think it was 2 years ago. No, last year, I rented a kayak, and I had dolphins. They went underneath my kayak in a marina. They were in a marina.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah. Just don't have fish on a stringer when that happens.
No, I wouldn't. I had my pole in the boat. I was like, no way. These things are monstrous.
Free food.
Yeah.
Have you caught one of them Goliath groupers?
I have, but it was probably that big.
Huh.
Yeah, not huge. Those things, oh my gosh, you need a deep, fishing rod for that. You need beefy rods to pull something like that out. And they do that off of Sebastian Inlet Bridge, off the jetties. People will catch a Jack Crevalle and take that whole fish, put it on a hook, and drop it down, and they'll pull up those big groupers, man.
Wow. All right, so we got anything else?
Crazy.
Oh, yeah. Hey, Trey, you got a couple questions there.
I do. I wanted to know bucket fish. So you had said there's still some fish on your bucket list. Like, what is that? Yeah, that's my first question. I got two more.
Oh, man. Okay. So, bucket list. So, I want to get, I just knocked off a couple months ago fishing with the girls in Virginia, my first smallie up here. So, it wasn't big. It was, 12 inches or something, but it's a fish.
Yeah.
Fish is a fish.
Goodbye.
I haven't gotten a walleye in a long time, so it is something I put on the list. And a northern, we have ditch pickles up in Florida, but down in Florida, but a northern is different, right?
Yep.
Musky walleye that, I just don't know if carp is something on my list, but that would be fun, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've already did all your saltwater bucket list fish. Now you're on the freshwater.
No, there is so many more saltwater fish. It's crazy, but I mean, I was just happy I got a bunch of ocean saltwater fish versus inshore fish. Like I got a sailfish, I got my mahi, I got certain other ones.
Nice.
And it was all thanks to being able to get out with George Poveromo. So that was fun.
So you can only pick one piece of seafood to have for the rest of your life. What are you picking?
Whoo! Seafood. Well, flounder, I think.
Okay.
Flounder.
As in halibut flounder?
No, northern flounders.
Okay.
I haven't had a halibut flounder, but I'm assuming it tastes the same. It's just a lot bigger.
Yeah.
And I would be doing my dog an injustice if we had a picture of you and I seen a picture of you and your dog on a stand up on a paddle board.
Yeah.
Tell me about your dog.
Oh, that's Rhodey. So I had Rhodey. Oh gosh, he passed away. Oh my gosh. I don't know, 6 years ago already. That's all right. I mean, he was old and whatnot, but yeah, he loved the water. I mean, he's a lab, and labs love water. And I just remember his first time taking in some salt water and just puking like crazy and having the runs. Never did that again. And then I got him a nice PFD, and he was able to go out on the paddleboard with me, learn how to jump off and get back on, and he loved it.
Nice.
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
I miss him. Good dogs. Labs are great. All dogs are great.
Yeah, we have our dog is like, you ready for this? She looks like a lab, but she's like a corgi lab mix.
Oh.
So her legs
she's
are
a Queen's lab.
Short.
Lab. Yeah.
Short.
But she can catch a frisbee. She's 15 years old. Can catch a frisbee, goes and gets the newspaper outside for me every day, hauls in packages. Yeah, I mean, just everything. But she's smart as a whip because that corgi brain's pretty smart too. So but
Yeah.
she loves to fish. She'll grab it right off the line.
I've watched some of your videos. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. So tell us about your. You have some good sponsors. You said I think in one podcast that I watched, you still have a lot of those sponsors with you that are backing you on this stuff.
Yeah. So I have everybody that I had before. There's some people that kind of disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
Like I used to. Like the life jackets were Astral life jackets. That green one that's in that picture is an Astral jacket. They did shoes and life jackets, and they still do, but their vision changed a little bit more to recycling materials to create shoes and whatnot, doing hemp stuff and whatnot. So they don't fit the mold anymore. So instead of them just, kind of saying goodbye, they just disappeared, And then there's some lure companies that disappeared too. They were privately owned. They weren't anybody, huge. But I brought on, like I'm representing Bixby now with the trolling motor and everything. So
cool.
When you lose one, you bring one in or whatnot. And all my sponsors are sponsors who came to me, and I'm very happy for that. I've never solicited. So I'm very grateful to them for keeping me even up, not fishing as much as I used to be. So
same here. Very fortunate.
Yeah.
That's happened that way. And that to me, that's a really good way to do it, too, that if you're doing the right things, people will notice, and it's not, and I really, like you, I don't think either one of us did it for that. It was like we just fished and people said, hey, this might make your fishing better.
Like I got into Aquabound accidentally when I took a client. This is a great story. I took a client and we had to cross from one side of a river to the other side, and it was like a mile and a half paddle or something. But the winds came up on our way back, so we're paddling into the wind, and he's paddling, and all of a sudden one blade breaks off. So then I see him doing this. He's canoeing back. I'm going, what is he doing? I couldn't figure it out. And I've got two, so I catch up to him, and he goes, it broke. And I go, where's the paddle blade? And he goes, I don't know, somewhere back there. And I have the same exact paddle he has.
Wow.
So I'm like, okay, well, I'll tow you in. He's like, nah, I got it. And he's going. All of a sudden, what happens? The other one breaks. So he's just left with this shaft.
Oh, man.
So we didn't have very, very much farther to go, but I still towed him back in. But that was really tough. But I had written a post about it on Facebook.
Yeah.
About the problem. I never mentioned the brand or anything. We don't do that. You just tell them your situation.
Yeah.
And the marketing manager from Aquabound called me up and he goes, hey, I got a solution for you. Want to give it a try? And I'm like, sure. So he sent me 2 paddles.
Wow. That's pretty neat.
I have been with them ever since. The best paddles that I've ever used were Bending Branches or Aquabound,
Yeah,
so, and
so
they
this is the first
their
time
product,
Yeah.
I was even on their development team for a while because they came out with a new blade and they had me use it, and it kept the UV from the Florida sun just kept chewing on the resin or whatever is on the blade. And so they found a new compound which they use today. So
that's kind of segues into my last question for you, Deep. And I want to mention that too, that I've seen just doing these podcasts so far, and people that I talk to in general, but this is the kind of first time we've really talked about how did you get the sponsors. Me being new to bass fishing, I thought when I first started, the tournament scene of bass fishing, that I needed to reach out. I needed to get these sponsors. I wanted to look cool. My Facebook posts needed to have these cool sponsors on there because the sponsors are what going to make other people look at me and say, wow, that dude can fish. Look at the sponsors that he has. When in actuality, I can't really fish that well at all. I'm getting better. But I thought that having them sponsors and having that notoriety made me a bass fisherman, right? So I think that what you said, what you talk to people that have been seasoned. I've had conversations with really good friends right here locally in my clubs that say, "Hey Trey, pump the brakes on that a little bit." Because you're going at it for the wrong reasons anyways, and really starting to really believe, because you're only going to be able to promote the companies in which you genuinely believe in, right? Mm-hmm. So I think that's really good insight and something I need to work on. And I think it's a lot of something. If it's what gets people in the water, it is what it is. But I think it'll come out in the wash and people will learn that. But I think that's a learning process, because I think a lot of people do that. But you said something about the sun, and a question we asked the last person, that was a great question. I had comments afterwards. They were like, "Trey, that was a great question." And I want to ask you, so being somebody that spends a lot of time in the sun, can you tell me what your favorite sun hat is? Who makes that? And maybe what is the best stuff for your skin? Because you are spending so much time in the sun. Like, okay, so what sun shirt would you wear? And what hat? If you had to get one hat that you could wear out there, which one would it be?
So when I first started, before I was actually guiding, I didn't even care. I would be in the sun constantly until I learned my lesson on, sun hits your thighs differently, right, in a kayak than when you're just walking around. So, it's just the standard stuff. What you're wearing right now in your head is what I wear, but it's, a native hat. It's a bill hat. Always a buff, on the face, and the sunglasses. So the only real place that the sun's hitting me is like on the nose, or, when it's down. I only have sunscreen, from here, because everything else is pretty much covered. Always put sunscreen on your ears. And ironically, I use Neutrogena.
Okay.
30 SPF. It's not thick. It just soaks in, and I don't even really technically refresh it. Mm-hmm. And I'm out there from sun up to a lot of times sundown. Mm-hmm. I don't want to get off the water. A lot of people hate me for that, because they're like, we got to go in. No, one more cast.
One more cast.
I can see that. Yeah, I'm doing a piece on hats, actually, Trey and D, about hats, and it's kind of it's going to be kind of cool. It's got some history with it too, but because I've had 3 bouts of skin cancer. One of them was bad, and one was on the ear, and 2 are on my cheek. And I go in once and I recommend this, you guys, get in once a year to a dermatologist once a year. Have them check you over, because you don't want stuff to happen that could. Yeah. Once it gets deep, it's pretty tough to stop it. So.
Yeah. I was wearing a Tilly hat for quite a while. Yeah. Those are, the round brimmed ones.
Yeah.
Those are really nice.
Yeah, I wear that too.
But I do a lot of Columbia, Columbia pants.
Yeah.
I always wear socks when I'm fishing, because you can get burnt down, between the shoe and your pants. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So.
Well, interesting.
I got croc holes on my feet, so like when you take off my Crocs, I'm just polka dotted from my Crocs, making a croc tan. So
I've got my Temu boat shoes.
Oh my gosh.
I got a friend, Adam Dinningham, who fishes for Moyak and Camo, and this dude wears these white cotton, like I'm talking Walmart white to the knee socks and tennis shoes, right? And I always give him a hard time for wearing the white socks out there. But it sounds like something that's maybe he's onto something I'm not. So.
Well, the thing is, though, is like, do you wear water shoes then, or do you go barefoot?
Yeah, water shoes.
Yeah,
never barefoot.
Which water shoes?
They're Astrals. The ones. The brand Astral.
Oh, I touched it. So okay. Okay, sorry about that.
Astral. Okay. And you've been through a lot of water shoes, I bet, right? And they're your favorite ones?
Yeah, quite a few. Probably 6 sets, maybe. That's not a lot, but.
Yeah, okay. What's weird is I go through a set a year, at least. That's 140 trips or so. But I've just found the water just breaks them down. I have to put like the goop stuff in there to keep them together and everything for the year.
Oh, the E6000, yeah.
Yeah, and I've so far though, these Temus that I got, they were $20 and they were.
They're holding up.
Yeah, high tops. They're high tops. But
Oh, yeah.
anyway, I always wear water shoes too because I don't want to step on something that might cut your foot or something. But okay, so
Right.
anyway, I don't. We had a question by Steve. You all wear shoes, so yeah, we all wear shoes. And oh, your battery's almost out here, so we're gonna end this here. But any shout outs at all, Dee, to anybody or anything or?
I don't know. Who do I shout out to? Everybody. I love everybody.
All right. Well, you're well known. Believe me, when we bring your name, oh yeah, I know D, I know D. So if if we go out that way, I promise we will look you up and go.
Yeah. So
No.
I'm like West Virginia, Pennsylvania area.
Okay.
So I'm by the Susquehanna, which they have all the tournaments that I'm looking at.
I fished there two times.
There's your smallmouth. There's your bucket smallmouth right there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I know. John Ost is up that way.
Yeah.
I want to fish with him. Rick Burnley is up in Virginia at the Chesapeake. I want to get up that way with Kayak Kevin. I don't know if you remember him. Kayak Kevin's another one.
We're gonna get him on. We're gonna
get Kevin on.
Yeah. We have him on our list.
Good.
But yeah, you got some good fishing up there where you're at, and like I said, I've been there a couple times. It's gorgeous. It's just gorgeous.
Yeah.
And the fish are gigantic. There's gigantic smallies. So anyway,
I want one.
Yeah, well, you got to go up there.
You're gonna get one.
Somebody will probably reach out to you now. Being on here, they might reach out to you and say, "Hey, let's go."
Yeah, I'm like right there, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Virginia, and Maryland border. I'm like, actually, I fish more Maryland than I fish West Virginia.
Wow. The Susquehanna runs through Maryland, doesn't it?
Yeah, I have to go up 2 hours to get to it.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna say Auf Wiedersehen here, and we thank you, Dee, so much.
Thanks
Keep doing what you're doing. You bet. Keep doing what you're doing. And,
I'm working on it.
And appreciate your social media posts too when you make those. So and show us a big fish this year. Get us a big fish.
Oh, it depends on what a big fish is to everybody, right?
Well, that one in that picture there is nice. So
yeah.
All right. Okay, yeah. We're gonna take you off here. Okay, thanks.
Right. Thanks, Trey. Bye, Marty.
Bye. Okay, we're gonna remove that. Okay, and we're Trey. Good job, man.
That was awesome, man. She's amazing, bro.
Yeah. We're gonna. Well, I'll talk to you after the show here a little bit, and then. But anyway, thanks everybody. We appreciate all you guys being on here, and we'll see you again next time. Our next guest, I think, is slow ride guy, Dean Thomas. Next, I think it's next Thursday, pretty sure. So thanks everybody. Steve Billington, thank you for being on here too. But I'm sure we had a lot of people on and off, and we'll keep this going. The kayak fishing story. Thanks, guys.